There is one conversation that no longer should be had, will be had, plain and simple. What we saw last night on the world stage of the Super Bowl, what the international football-loving audience saw, what I saw with my own two eyes last night, was the minting of a GOAT. Now, we had Troy Aikman on this show last Friday before he called Super Bowl 51 on Fox. We had him on a fun week in Houston. And to all folks out there who are listening in Houston, who are watching on Root Sports in Houston, where we've been on since Jump Street, you guys were awesome. The hospitality was tremendous. That stadium is world-class. What a big-time feel it is to have a big-time event in NRG Stadium. A great spot for a big game. We had Troy Aikman there in Houston, and he said that Brady making his 7th Super Bowl was enough for him to end the conversation about whether or not Tom Brady's the greatest quarterback of all time. In a conversation with Joe Montana, who made 4 and never lost one. Bradshaw made 4, never lost one, and Brady has lost some. And last night at halftime, everybody's all over TB12. I was even hearing from friends and fans on Twitter, conversations that maybe Garoppolo could be doing a better job. We'll have a conversation about that at 844-204-RICH and definitely throughout this week. But what we saw last night is a conversation ender as to who the greatest quarterback in the history of the National Football League is. Now, we could have a conversation about who's the greatest football player of all time. Tom Brady put himself on the pantheon of Jerry Rice and Jim Brown last night. Jerry Rice is clearly the GOAT in terms of wide receivers. Jim Brown is the GOAT of running backs. And you can have a conversation about Emmitt Smith, etc. But you could ask you could even ask Emmitt. Ask Marshall, ask any of the Hall of Fame running backs we've had on here. They look at Jim Brown and say he's a GOAT. Tom Brady's the GOAT quarterback. Period. End of story. I don't want to hear about cheating. Those footballs were just fine last night. He didn't have the plays. He didn't have videos. If he did, they sure as hell wouldn't be down by 25 points in that game. What he did last night was get his team in position to win. Keep his team in the game. Even throwing a pick six. To be the leader on that sideline as we saw him and heard about after the game from all the players. With him going 21 of 27 for 246 yards and 77.8% completion percentage in the fourth quarter and overtime of a game that they entered trailing by the score of 28-9. I don't want to hear it anymore. Tom Brady and my buddy Marshall Falk said even today, on Sunday game in the morning, there's an asterisk. Whatever. And I say that with the utmost respect. I sat next to Marshall watching this game last night, okay? And I can't have this conversation. You want to have it? Call me at 844-204-RICH. You know where I'm going to stand. You consider, you're a Michigan guy, you know, Brady, get on your knee pads, whatever. I call it like I see it from this desk here at the Rich Eisen Show. Nobody has now more than 5 rings. Nobody has more than 4 rings other than him. He's got the most rings. He did it in a game where he threw for the most yards in the history of the Super Bowl to lead the largest comeback in NFL history in terms of impressiveness, in terms of importance, in terms of clutchness. I understand it wasn't the biggest comeback in playoff history, that Frank Reich comeback for the Bills on the Oilers still is. But come on. Nobody's ever come back from more than 10 points in a Super Bowl. Who's the team that came back from 10 points in a Super Bowl before? That'd be Super Bowl 49 Patriots. Okay? When he was the MVP of that game because he found 4 different receivers and 4 touchdowns. There was no Gronk last night. Do you know why the Patriots were down so much? Not only because Atlanta played so well. They missed Gronk. How many times would they just throw it up in the end zone? They needed points in a hurry. Who's their chunk play guy? Who's their guy in the red zone? They were having trouble separating from the man-to-man coverage that Atlanta surprised them with. And Brady was phenomenal. Sure, James White set records himself, but somebody had to get the Patriots in the right play. Somebody had to keep the Patriots' mind right on the field. Somebody had to get the Patriots down the field. Somebody had to have coolness under pressure. Somebody had to pick up a first down with his legs with the largest rush of the game. Somebody had to do all of that. It's Tom Brady. I quite frankly can't have this conversation, but I will if you want to have it. GOAT. End of story. Most rings, largest comeback, the most prolific passing performance, 466 yards in a Super Bowl. You've got to be kidding me. You've got to be kidding me. And today at his press conference with the commissioner, where they were both very complimentary, or at least the commissioner was, and Tom Brady was very classy in saying that he was proud to get the award from the commissioner. At today's MVP press conference, when flat out asked, if this is the end, because normally somebody who's at age 39, who's going to be 40 when the Patriots host yet another banner raising in Gillette to kick off the season next year, he will be 40 years old. Normally you think it can't get any better than this. Most rings ever, largest comeback ever, most prolific passing performance ever. You are the GOAT. Why in the world would you come back? Because he wants his sixth. And he wants to be able to show you, I can do it as 40. Wants to be the oldest to do it. Wants to keep on keeping on. And why the hell not? Jimmy can wait. He may not wait. And Patriot fans, or anybody out there who thought that Brady was the issue in the first half and that Garoppolo could do any better, whatever you're smoking, I don't know what you're smoking, because that's crazy talk. This is crazy talk. He threw for 800 combined yards in the AFC Championship game in the Super Bowl against the Steelers and the Atlanta Falcons. And the Atlanta Falcons were destroying every quarterback that they were facing this postseason. They bounced Russell Wilson, and they took the guy who was playing the hottest I've ever seen in the history of my covering the NFL, in Aaron Rodgers, and made him look pedestrian. And they were doing that to Tom Brady in the first half, too. That was incredible.
The Rich Eisen Show, weekdays at noon Eastern on Audience.